You know, sometimes circumstances in the world overwhelm my attempts to write a good sermon or to come up with thoughts to share. And that may be the case this week, so certainly the circumstances in the world the last couple of weeks have caused me to move away a little bit this week from direct commentary on the gospel readings and so on to something pretty tangential. But I'll offer it and, encourage you to reflect along with me. You know, William Sloane Coffin once said a long time ago that there are three kinds of patriots. Bad ones, he said, are those who are either uncritical lovers of their nation or loveless critics. Good patriots, he said, carry on a lover's quarrel with their country that is a reflection of God's lover's quarrel with the whole world. You know, I grew up with a deep sense of the possibility of America. I now understand that a lot of this had to do with my privileged place in American society, as well as growing up during a period of economic expansion and optimism after World War II. It's not that we had lots of money, we didn't. We were right in the middle of the middle class, and we lived pretty modestly. But I inherited these stories, these powerful myths about America and the American dream that were filled with optimism and possibility. We were the good guys who came in at the last minute to save the world from fascism and tyranny in World War II. My father and my uncle were veterans of that war, and my grandfather had earned a Silver Star fighting in World War I, so I had a sense that war was only fought for noble causes. And military service was the highest form of service. I even wanted to go to West Point for most of my childhood. Everything I learned reinforced the idea that the United States of America was a city on a hill, as John Winthrop said to the Puritans coming as immigrants to this country, that it was a beacon of democracy and freedom and a protector of human rights in the world. I admired George Washington for choosing to step down as president rather than become a king. And Thomas Jefferson for his commitment to the ideals of freedom and equality for all people. And I didn't know at that time that both of them owned slaves all of their lives. I admired Abraham Lincoln for freeing the slaves. I didn't know how long it took him to get there or how political the decision really was at the time. I got to visit the United Nations and the Statue of Liberty in New York City and felt proud that we were a nation that welcomed all nations as well as those in need of safety and refuge. The poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty seemed to say it all. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. I mean, I could go on, but you get the picture. I grew up with an idealized picture of our country as a special place, an exceptional place, that word that so many people use, a light shining in the world. Right now, I feel the loss of that vision, that dream, deep in my bones. During the last few weeks, just for a few examples, recently we withdrew from the Council on Human Rights of the United Nations. Families in desperate need were detained and divided at the border. The Supreme Court ruled, in essence, that you can choose who you want to serve in your business on religious grounds. I mean, I know it's more complex than that, but that's the message that kind of comes through. And so on ad infinitum. But the fading of the light from the city on the hill isn't just the result of the Trump presidency or the divisive politics of these days. It happened gradually through the years for me, from the assassinations and the Vietnam War in the 60s, to Watergate and the disillusionment of the 70s, from my own growing awareness of the history of racism and slavery and our treatment of Native Americans and immigrants for many years, to the long legacy of unequal rights and unequal pay for women, and so on. Still, despite all the realities of America, I held on to the dream of America. But I have to say that sometimes lately it feels as though its life is fading fast, bleeding from every pore. So in this context, with this sense of loss that I often feel in these days, it might be helpful, I think, to remember that all of today's scripture readings come from times of great disorientation and change.